a word because I saw his nose and his nose was wide and he was successful at what he did and he made no apologies about it. And I drew strength from that kind of example. And so when people look at you, when young men look at your father, they draw strength from him. And I'm sure he knows, but he doesn't even know the impact of some lives on some young man's life that he's making, even just by being in the position that he's being in.
Yeah, when I think about my dad, he, from what I understand, his dad wasn't always in the home. He went on and he was goal oriented because of his strong mother, and she was a strong black woman, and he went on to be quite accomplished. But as a black man, I'm sure that there were mentors in his life, and there were people that he was looking up to, because you have to be taught, because children mimic, and they end up being what they see.
What I always think is interesting is that that there are things that are just outright genetic. That a young man who never, and I'm telling you this as just a living witness, having not necessarily been raised by my biological father, and having limited interaction with him as I was growing up, there are mannerisms and things that will find us, even all my brothers will find ourselves doing that is just like my father, and it's like wow, and it's just simply genetics. And so you're right about that for sure. And one of the things that I kind of going back to what we were talking about, the young men and these inspirations, two people were inspirational in my life was Walter Owens and Mr. Trudell. And they were very instrumental in my life in terms of teaching me some things, once again, why men wore undershirts. I mean, stuff like that. And very much in terms of my music. Was a lot of the things that I've learned have been because people like them were in my life. And God certainly placed them at very strategic and integral times of my Bishop T. Garrett Benjamin Jr. At that time, our church, Light of the World in Indianapolis, Indiana, was very much focused in on the black man and the family. And he was doing his series on Boys to Men. And it's like all of a sudden where there was an absence of a father in a home, God had opened up a doorway and a way for, me and my brother, we so much was poured on us, if you will, so much lessons of rites of passage and how to become a man and how to treat a woman and how to not leave your family. Don't make the mistakes. And some things, although they may be genetic, might not be good. Some things you gotta recognize that they're genetic and recognize they ain't good because there's some habits. And in the church, we like to call them some curses, some generational curses and some things that have to be broken. You could look up in so many young men, they never knew their father, but they act just like them, follow the same path. Right. And never even really spend a time with them. But when we talk about your father, and once again, and I'm sure he'd be the first one to tell you, and growing up as a black man, I understand, listen, you have your flaws. You have your up and down. I'm sure it wasn't perfect. I'm sure your house wasn't perfect. But the issue is he was there. Right. And so, I just want to kind of touch on that today. That was a really, that is a really big issue for me because, and that leads into some other things. We'll get into these shows later, and that is even fathers and their children when it comes to child support and visitation. And every father out there is not, and I would, every father who's called a deadbeat father ain't no deadbeat father. I would say the percentage, and I couldn't even really assign a percentage to it, but there's a large percentage of men who are called deadbeat fathers who pay their child support and who a lot of times have given up just completely on trying to see their children and have just threw their hands up and said, I'll see them when they're 18 years old. And because so many games are played and it's so easy for, and I'm not saying there ain't no deadbeat fathers. Let's be real here, folks. I'm just talking about those fathers who do everything they can by their children. They try to see their children, but every game in the book is played against them and nobody takes up that cause. It's easy for and technically it's the custodial parent, but more times than not, it is the mother. And a lot of times she can go down to the prosecutor's office and she can get a case started. And in some cases, and in a lot of cases, that's a legitimate thing and it needs to be done. And if he ain't paying and ain't doing right, then great. But I'm talking about those cases where, but that father has to, he has to go get an attorney. There is no advocate for the father. And he has to then try to go see his child. Well, because a lot of times he doesn't make enough money, he can't go do it, and so therefore he throws his hands up. But it's a lot deeper process than that. And so, like I said, well, we're not going to get into today because we'll be talking that for another 2 hours.
Yeah, that will be a hot topic, and it'll be interesting to see how the listeners will comment. Yeah, that's a hot topic.
Yeah, I'm very interested to hear what we're going to get back from today's show. We want to once again we welcome your comments and your thoughts and your show ideas. You can send them to the Terry and Monika Show at gmail.com. Once again, that is the Terry and Monika Show at gmail.com. You can hit us up on our fan page on Facebook at the Terry and Monika Show fan page. That is the Terry and Monika Show fan page. And also hit us up on our Facebook pages, Terry Parent and Monika Parent. We would love to hear back from you. We want to thank you once again for being a part of our very first show. And we look forward to hearing from you soon. God bless.